So, judging from chronology, when I was involved, I think probably what I should bring to this panel was some discussion of getting to post-punk. I have said many times that punk rock was not a genre. It was, in fact, I like to think of it as an anti-art movement, except in the arena of music, and in that sense was akin to Dada, which I also think was not a genre. And I believe both Dada and punk were very time limited. Yeah. They arose in response to some specific things and only could arise in relation to those things.
Punk is a tomato, throw it against the wall.
That's right.
Thank you.
So in order to, it's not often it's seen as an elitist thing. It's not an elitist thing to say to someone who had a punk band in 1985, well, you really didn't get it. But they really didn't get it, because the thing of it was that we were all rejects. Nobody recognizes that we were not cool in 1977, 78, 79. We were not cool. We were rejects.
We were fucking mutants.
We were mutants, exactly. And people literally would cross the street if they saw you coming, or they would throw something at you. I mean, literally that was the reception that we got. And punk rock is defined by that, because unlike a lot of rejects who stand on the sidelines waiting for their opportunity to get into the mainstream, we just said, fuck you. And that is the essence of punk rock. But it's not sustainable. Okay, and just like Dada was not sustainable, when you're an anti-art movement, essentially, that negativity will not carry you indefinitely. So eventually, there had to be a transition, and I had the opportunity, because I managed Negative Trend, to sort of to see the birth of post-punk, if you will, because there was two crucial bands that came out of it.
One was Flipper.
One of them was Flipper, and the other one was Tony Midgets.
There we go.
And the Negative Trend was really, I think an argument could be made that they were the Sex Pistols of San Francisco, if you will. They were the anarchist side of things. I worked with the Dills as well. They were the socialist side of things. San Francisco was a very political scene. Negative Trend also had we rarely had enough equipment to actually play our set. Will never did learn to play his bass, even after his years on Flipper. And so they were, in that sense, the essence of punk, right? They were the very essence of it. But as I said, that negativity only carries you so far. And so what happened coming into, actually I'll say it this way. Bruce Luce and I, Bruce Luce from Flipper, spent an afternoon one time discussing what we were going to create, which we called pet rock. And the reason why we were going to do this is we were fucking sick of all of these mainstream people coming into our scene, and we didn't like the record companies coming into our scene. We had tried to escape all of this, and now we were being flooded with it. All these assholes coming in from suburbia, and we didn't want them there. So what Bruce and I's idea was to create this thing, pet rock, which was going to be so unlistenable that only we would go to the gigs. Nobody else would go to them. And when I first saw Flipper, I thought, fuck, Bruce actually acted on this. You know, they were dirgy, there was, I am the earthworm, I live in the ground. Anyway, but I remained with Negative Trend when Will and Steve had left it to go on Flipper. And I give Bruce full credit for having run with the pet rock idea. But I was still with Negative Trend, and we had, it was then Tim Mooney from the Sleepers, and this kid Jonathan on bass, and Craig Gray, who, I'm gonna just say about Craig Gray, that Craig Gray is the constant for me, okay? He carried out forward into the Toiling Midgets, and he is the essence of the Toiling Midgets, and he was the essence, actually, of Negative Trend, despite the fact that everybody knew Will and loved Will. But anyway, so Craig was, we had a terrible experience with Rick as a lead singer, and he was a fucking prima donna. But anyway, so we got rid of him, and Craig brought in Paul Hood, who was a recent recruit from Seattle, and the Toiling Midgets were born. And their approach is so different, and this is true of Flipper as well. There is just no commonality between what was going on in Negative Trend and what was going on in Flipper and the Twirling Midgets. And the Twirling Midgets and Flipper are very, very different bands.
You can bone track your balls out of concrete.
Yes, yeah, I'll give you that. But in any case, so what I want to conclude basically in saying about this is the issue of no going back. Punk rock was a moment in time. And it was of necessity only a moment in time. It could not continue, and it had to end. And when it ended, a lot of people turned around, because musicians don't want to work, so they turned around to look for something else to do with it, to make a buck. And no, but see, in all seriousness, there was such a flood of things that came out of it. We had the ska thing, we had the No New York thing, we had rockabilly. And then we had bands like, and I think of Flipper and the Twirling Midgets both as being more purely post-punk in the sense that they were an evolution out of people who had a punk sensibility. Okay? And that's what punk had. Punk had a sensibility. It didn't have anything else. It had no genre to speak of whatsoever. But it had a sensibility, and carrying that sensibility forward into a now more musical era, if you will, okay, where it wasn't just good enough that we were not part of society, and you had to earn your chops some other way. That to me is the definition of punk, post-punk. That is what it was taking that sensibility, being that reject, and figuring out that you still have the rest of your life to live, and we're gonna have to figure out how to get to the end of that road.